my lord. I come to a full stop, opening my mouth, but not getting a word out. I can guess. I'm good at guessing, better than most people. Rin cuts me off before I can answer her question, or skirt around it somehow. I don't know which I would have done. I froze in front of this issue again. I haven't even told anyone here about my condition, or maybe it's only because it hasn't really come up. I do get the feeling that not making issues of this is a part of the social code here, as the teacher said. I wonder if the people here could relate. Probably not any better than any normal person could. I can relate to Shizune's circumstances, or I can't relate to Shizune's circumstances or Lily's either. Naturally, while I go through this in my head, Rin keeps considering what my condition could be with an overtly competitive look on her face. She puts her fork between her lips and leans back, looking at the ceiling as if the answer was written up there. A beam of light illuminates her face from the window side, creating the mask of dark shadows on the other side. I don't think there's anything in your head, and something in your gut would be boringly ordinary, like this lunch of mine, and less delicious. The problem must be in your pants. How dare you, woman? Damn you. This is messed up Sherlock Holmes kind of statement, and the sheer lack of tact it was delivered with catches me completely off guard. I think I might have reeled back even physically as Rin's eyes widened in revelation and astonishment. So I was right. There's something wrong with your tackle, is it? Oh, God. Still partially in shock, but recognizing the need to reply something, I spit out the first thing that I can think of. No, nothing like that. I have a heart problem, arrhythmia. ... I said it, more like blurted it out, but I said it. The girl in front of me purses her lips together and glows at me, looking very disappointed. How boring. Trouble in your pants would have been much more scandalous. What's with this reaction? I'm sorry to let you down. I forgive you. Just I collect people and a person with you know. But just I collect people and a person with you know. That kind of problem would have been really great. Collect people? People with different problems. Huh, so you just go around asking people what's wrong with them? Pretty much. I see. With little left to say, Rin resumes her lunch and the conversation dies away, but I keep thinking about what was said. It's the first time I told anyone else about my condition. All the other people have either known about it already or heard about it from someone else, or didn't need to know about it like every other student here so far. Should I have told it as a natural part of introductions? Is it expected of me? Hi, I'm Hisao. I have a very serious heart condition. Yep, basically. Is that how I'm supposed to go around introducing myself from now on? No. As if our disabilities would define us. What a disgusting thought. Well, you did define Lily by Lily the blind girl, so you're being a bit hypocritical. Or maybe this Tezuka girl just has an unnatural interest in such things. As I walk to the back of the room to pick up the items on Misha's list, a chance opens to study Rin from the corner of my eye. Her hair is a burnt auburn, almost orange and cropped short. Long hair would probably be impossible with no arms. The boy's uniform and the lack of arms make her look very thin, almost scrawny. She is not particularly pretty except for her murky green eyes with flicker restlessly from below. which flicker restlessly from below her short bangs. Jesus Christ, I'm slaughtering this entire story, even when she eats. The distance and the shadows make it seem like they don't reflect sunlight at all, but instead absorb all of it within them like deep wells. She moves her feet almost as deftly as a normal person would use their arms. However, I can see how this sight could discomfort people, especially while eating. It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, at least. I hesitate to think about the word unnatural, but it's too late now, isn't it? I keep searching the cabin and shelves for Misha's things, but after enough time passes, the silence grows too uncomfortable, so I try to force some conversation out of this strange girl. So, do you always eat alone and this late? Or do you get the occasional visitor? Visitor? Maybe you are my first occasional visitor, but I don't always eat alone either. Sometimes I eat with a certain person on the roof if she's not horsing around. Horsing? She likes to do sports. Oh. And that's all I can think of to say. Both of us fall silent again as Rin forks the last bits of her meal to her mouth. I look down at my haul and double check it with Misha's list. It seems I have everything except plywood. So I think I have all the things now. That's very nice of you. Don't you feel obliged to stay? Don't feel obliged to stay. I was about to take a nap anyway. You need to do whatever you are going to do with that stuff right Or perhaps you would like to watch girls sleeping. Eh? I'm not sure what to make of this, but Rin looks serious. Even if I did, I think I have to be going. I'll catch you around, Tezuka. You can call me Rin. I feel that our relationship is, at this point, good enough to warrant this much. I was already turning to make my exit, but she draws me back in. Fine then, I'm Hisao. Then you are. What? Rin looks at me hard in the eyes, but that intimidating feeling you get when someone stares at you isn't there. It's like she's actually not looking at me at all. She blinks a couple of times and I can't figure out why a pause like this just popped between us out of nowhere. See you later, Hisao. There was something like a tiny smile there in her face. Maybe. It's nice. It's a nice smile. Ugly picture! I quietly back out of the room as I shut the door in front of my face. I whispered to myself, what an intriguing person. From inside I hear a muffled sing-song voice. I heard that. Jesus Christ! What did she hear? I jump at the sudden appearance of Misha, who I had not heard approaching despite the completely empty hallway. Somehow she had gotten to jumping distance of me without making a sound. Creepy. It briefly reminds me of Kenji's nutty theory about the global feminist conspiracy, but I pushed that thought aside. Ah, Shizune. Shizune, standing slightly behind Misha, looks aloof as she couldn't have heard the remark that drew Misha's attention, but Misha is visibly excited. No, wait, more importantly, who is in there? There's no club meetings today. She tries to curiously peek past me, even though the door prevents her from seeing anyway. What are you doing here? You took so long that we had to come back and check what's wrong. That's no good, Ichan. She wags her finger at me scoldingly. I found plywood, but everything else is still missing because you are tardy. Oh, sorry, I got the things here. I was just... Oh, sorry, I got the things here. Was just going to bring them. Am I butchering it that bad, or does that not make sense? Because that didn't to me. I think you were up to some mischief, Ichan. Who was in there with you? I wonder. Misha signed something quickly to Shizune, pointing at her own ear a couple of times. Shizune immediately pushes her way past me and opens the door into the classroom I just left. I can only imagine the shock she is experiencing. With Shizune's diligence and attitude, the insolence of daring to deface school property by sleeping on top of it must be too much to bear. And indeed, she stares at Rin, frozen in place apart from the slight but noticeable trembling of her shoulders from suppressed rage, I'm sure. Instead of blowing up, Shizune just takes a few deep breaths, adjusts her glasses and slams the door shut, turning to sign ferociously at Misha. Maybe she did blow up, but I can't understand it. She shoots a very loud stare at me too, as if it was somehow my fault that Rin is sleeping on one of the tables. I hope she's not getting any funny ideas about the reason of my tardiness. Hello? Rin's voice comes from the other side of the door, and it takes a few eye blinks to realise she might have trouble opening it. I open the door to find Rin directly behind it, looking at us with half-interested, half-sleepy face. Hello. ... Miss Tezuka, what do you think you were doing? You absolutely are not permitted to use school property for such disgraceful activities. It sure is suddenly very crowded in here. I didn't know I was as popular. It's hard to say whether she's happy or unhappy about this turn of events. At any rate, she ignored Shizune, Misha's scolding, so they have no choice but to drop the issue. Shizune taps Misha on Misha's shoulder, points at Rin and makes some quick signs. ... Popularity aside, please don't do that anymore. ... Anyway, how is your project going? Will it be done for the festival? Rin looks at them blankly, apparently at ease under the pressure Shizune's cold stare is putting on her. I keep wondering about that myself too. ... And? We'll think about it harder. As Misha signs her reply to Shizune, her face turns into an unsatisfied frown. ... Miss Tezuka, please try to take this seriously. It'll be a disaster if the wall looks like someone threw up their lunch onto it. Rin nods assertively. We'll think more seriously. Misha actually giggles at that, but Shizune doesn't, not even after translation. She just shakes her head and takes the material from me and takes off with Misha in tow. Rin frowns thoughtfully as she looks after the retreating student council duo. How rude. It's true, though, I must finish my project before the weekend. There will be dire consequences if I don't. The end of the world as we know it. Like weekends usually are, but more dire. Much more dire. Maybe I'll postpone my nap. Too unfortunate. Too unforeseen future. I'm about to ask what project she has and what are these apocalyptic consequences, but she walks back into the art classroom. Since you have nothing to do, would you give me a hand? This paint can doesn't fit into my bag, but I need it. She kicks lightly at a huge can of paint that's lying on the floor next to the table she was sitting and sleeping on. It lets out a dull clang. Being the gentleman I am, I naturally pick it up. Heavy. Yeah, sure. Where do you need to take it? Away. And with that, she takes off to the hallway, me and the paint can following, since there's little choice for either of us. Ugly picture! The hallway is quiet and empty now, with Shizune and Misha gone, so we two leave towards the stairwell at the other end. Every 10 or 15 or 20 steps I have to change the can from one hand to another. I do that with something heavy. I thought it was just me, because the thin handle cuts into my palms. Well, I would do that as well. At least it keeps my arms from tiring too fast. Rin strolls on beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble matching, or maybe I am walking weird because of the extra weight. You're walking weird. It seems one of us is constantly walking too slow or too fast, and I can't figure out which. 2 flights of stairs below, trouble appears in from. I apologize. 2 flights of stairs below, trouble appears in the form of the head nurse and his fox-like grin. Oh dear. Ah, Mrs. Nakai, what a happy coincidence. Tsuka too, of course. He nods courteously. I don't know. I can't say the word either. To Rin, who does not acknowledge him back, then turns to me because obviously it's me who he has had some business with. There was something I forgot to mention on Monday. I nodded and wait impassively because I can't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delving deeper into my skin doesn't make me feel enthusiastic about this interruption either. It's about your medication. Since you haven't been that long on your current medications, there might be some unexpected side effects which might require adjusting dosage or even changing to another kind of medication. So we will do a few tests regularly, but what I'd want is for you to keep an eye on everything in your condition that feels off, if you get what I mean. Nausea, headaches, anything, and come see me if something happens. Alright. So how are you? Everything fine? I give up and drop the can to the floor before answering him. Apparently this takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something generic as an answer, but then I realise how often I've done that lately. Other people have asked me to, teachers and students here, my parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the hospital. Everyone seems to be concerned about that. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school. Except this school. This is a small school, and both the student base and the faculty seem to be very tightly knit. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. And this is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. The thought sends shivers up my spine, but I give a generic answer anyway. ... What? You didn't say anything? That's great. Also, one other thing. My sources tell me that you have been at neither the school track nor even the pool, so I'd like to know if you have taken up exercise as I asked. Wait, what? My sources? You are spies? Of course I haven't, but his way of inquiring gives me the feeling that I should have been running my ass off the track since the very first day. You have people spying on me? Not as such, I just happen to know a few people, but that's not the issue here, so don't try to slip out of it. Well, I was actually doing some improvised weightlifting as an exercise. I pick up and lift a can up and down a few times like some sad imitation of a bodybuilder, even though it's weighing down on my arms painfully. The stupid grin disappears from his face for a second, then comes back like it was never gone. Tsuka, would you give us a second? Oh god. The nurse grabs me by the shoulder without waiting for Rin's permission, which he didn't need in the first place, and drags me aside. When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand that you are still on your first week and all, but please don't ignore the importance of this. The reason I'm coming down this hard on you is that habits are not easy to form. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it'll be. It's the same with everything like dieting. Can you promise me to be more serious about this from now on? When in doubt, save it out. Yes. Yeah, I promise, definitely. He studies me for a moment and then shrugs, smiling again.